quick little agenda about us, challenges that we've heard from our clients, solutions that we offer, some examples, and then finally building some ROI around the platform. So if you're not familiar with Engage by Sell, we are a US-based organization. We've been in business for about 20 years. We offer cloud-based mobile solutions, primarily focused on mobile web apps and text messaging. We also do some things with digital membership cards and so forth. But I'm going to be primarily talking about our mobile web app and our mapping feature. We also, like I said, provide a text messaging platform. So last year we had almost 2.5 million page views on our apps that we've developed with folks, and over 7 million communications via text messaging. The big thing I like to stress is we are a human customer support service organization. You don't deal with bots. We're real people. We're hands-on, and we're here to make your experience as beneficial as possible. So, quick little bit about us. Couple of challenges and opportunities, and this is what we hear from people who come to us looking for a solution, right? So they want to meet visitor expectations. We live in a digital world. When people go and visit a place, they expect some type of interactive digital experience, whether that's in the form of a guide or some type of map or what have you. Oftentimes, your staff just isn't enough to cover everything that needs to get done. So we can take the burden off of that by providing wayfinding solutions, by having FAQs available, giving details about I can't talk today, exhibits and so forth. We want to basically cut down the burden of the visitor and the frustration, or the burden on you to meet customer frustrations. You don't want, your docents or your guides or people at your organization having to answer the same question 15 times in an hour. So it's overcoming those frustrations that a visitor might have. And then finally, revenue growth. There's a lot of opportunities to increase revenue for you folks as an organization, whether it's linking to a membership page or fundraising or sponsorships and so forth. So what our solutions basically consist of are our GPS mapper service. It is a real-time map, and you'll see some examples. We use Blue Dot technology. So wherever you are on the venue, whether you're in a museum, a zoo, an aquarium, a downtown district, it will show where your location is, where it is in location to points of interest and so forth, provide directions, and the dot will actually follow along the path of the map. Smartphone tours, any type of content, video clips, behind the scenes tours, and so forth. Anything that you could possibly imagine. Visitor surveys, feedback, scavenger hunt, and so forth. Text messaging, it's great to push out, email is such a challenge nowadays, getting people to respond or having them be proactive to things like ticket sales and so forth. We have a text messaging platform that can push out updates, alerts, reminders, emergency closures, and so forth, as well as our audio guides. And let me go ahead and talk about the stages, right? So we have a client that they send out a link to people who have purchased tickets to something with information they might need to know before they arrive at a specific venue, whether it's parking garage information, a road closure nearby, changes in hours, and so forth. So you're able to push out that information prior to the person even arriving at your event. And then as far as once they're on site, strategically placing QR codes so they have easy access to content, information, and so forth. I get asked the question a lot, what's the difference between my website and what you offer? And I always say a website is good for driving visitors to your venue. But once you're there, or once the visitor is there, what are they going to do? How are they going to be engaged? What can you offer for them to make that, satisfying interactive experience? As I had mentioned, scavenger hunts, promotions, contests, and so forth. And then finally, post-visit opportunities, right? Pushing out a follow-up survey if it's not included in your site and so forth. The great thing about our platform is it is not a native app. So there is no going to Google Play or the App Store trying to find, the thing that they're looking for, waiting for it to download, taking up space on their phone and so forth. With our platform, it's as simple as scanning a QR code and going. So if you guys have a phone with you, feel free to scan that QR code that you see there. I'll go ahead and do it also. And this happens to be for one of our clients in Texas, Downtown Houston Plus. And when it pops up, you'll see on your phone exactly kind of what it looks like on there. I gave you that so you could tap around with that and look at it afterwards. The other great thing that you can do is by tapping your menu button on your phone, you can actually save this with an icon to look just like an app on your phone and reuse it for the next time you go to visit. So for example, I have saved it. This is my actual cell phone. I've actually saved it here. So when I want to revisit it, I can go back to it. So what I wanted to do was kind of highlight some of the interesting ways that clients use our platform. I mentioned earlier audio guides. So here's an example of the Salem Heritage Trail. I included this one because it is October. We got the Witch's House. So you'd go to their site, you'd be given selections, you'd tap on one. I tapped on Witch's House, and then I get an audio clip that tells me a little bit about the house and so forth. In addition to that, if I were to scroll down on my phone on this page, it would give me a written description of what the text is saying. So for folks who have maybe low hearing or are visually impaired, with the low hearing, they could always read along with it. And again, if they are visually impaired, they could just listen to the audio clip. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat box. One of the unique features that we developed, oh gosh, quite a few years ago, is we call it a selfie feature or a photo sharing feature. This is an example of one of our water park clients. In addition to information about their rides, camping in the area, their restaurants, and so forth, they wanted to kind of create a digital scrapbook, again, to engage their client or their customers, make them feel like they're a part of it. So they have a section that you tap to upload your photo, and you tap on this button. Your camera opens up, you snap a photo, you can put a caption on it, you hit upload, and then there's a gallery link. So you tap on that and you see actually all the photos that people have taken, whether it's kids on rides or, the lunch you had of the hamburgers. I always say every organization has that one thing that people always want to take a photo in front of. Why not capture that? And then, use them for your marketing photos going forward. Candid shots are great for that. I'm going to talk a little bit about Melissa now. Melissa's on the call, and I was poking around as I was prepping this, and I noticed she has something new on her mobile site. And Melissa and another organization, Downtown Houston Plus, actually collaborated with me on a webinar several months back. And Melissa kind of runs this all by herself. She doesn't have a lot of bandwidth. She doesn't have a lot of staff that helps her. But what's funny is Melissa decided to create this scarecrow stroll for the holiday. And basically, people walk around town. There's a map that goes with it, as you can see there. And they can vote for which storefront has the best scarecrow. Melissa, like I said earlier, chatted with our client services manager, who then chatted with another one of our clients, and they incorporated it because they thought it was such a great idea. So way to go, Melissa. I know you've always been so nervous thinking that, you're doing this all by yourself. You're the pioneer in this, and I'm sure we're going to talk with more of our clients to do something like this. So she had a piece of paper, a PDF that, was available for print. And we just incorporated, or she incorporated it into the mobile site. So I would click Scarecrow Stroll, and I'd get this, I'd enter in my information, and then I would vote for which one I liked the best. I think, again, it's a great way to get people involved in the community and engaged. So thanks, Melissa. I appreciate it. We work with Downtown Austin. They did something very smart. They had a big event a couple of weeks ago. It was called Vibe Downtown. And in addition to having their map and the schedule and things you should know and deals, they decided to incorporate a survey. So guests would simply click on the survey button, and it asks them a variety of questions. Again, I just kind of screenshotted a couple of the areas. What events did you attend? How did you hear about it? How often do you visit the area? What would you like to see in the future? What was your primary mode of transportation, right? That helps with parking and things like that. So there's so much information and data that you can gather from these surveys. Paper maps are great and they have their place, but a paper map is not going to give you the data and the information you need to make decisions or choices going forward. So being able to have that data is really important. I always have a problem saying this, Snoqualmie Falls. They're another client of ours, and they've implemented a scavenger hunt. So they have an entire section devoted to fun and games, and they have about 6 different interactions or ways that they engage their visitors. I just screenshotted some of their scavenger hunts. So it explains about what it is. You hit start the game, and then you get a series of questions. I believe if you go to the museum, they give you a little prize for completing it. So again, it's their website got them to the location, but what are you going to do with them once you get them there? So this kind of makes it fun. They learn a little bit, and they, again, feel engaged. One of the great things about having the mobile app is you can get sponsors or sponsorships. That mobile app, I always say, it's like a piece of your real estate, and you can sell or monetize a piece of it to get your platform funded, to, use, some folks do an annual fee, some do a monthly fee for local vendors or national sponsors and so forth. So here's an example. One of our botanical gardens is sponsored by a company called Invesco. Not only are we branding the bottom of every page, so your visitors will see that branding, but they also have a little tab or an icon. And if we were to click on that, you would see a little bit more about Invesco. I spoke with a zoo the other day, and they don't have a lot of concession or food at their location, but across the street, there's a McDonald's. So they're having that McDonald's sponsor part of their mobile app. it's great because not only does it drive your visitors to local organizations, restaurant shops, and so forth, but it's also a way for you to generate revenue. Again, any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat. The other great thing about the platform is it gives you the ability, again, this goes back to the data, right? You're providing this great platform and feature for your visitors. What can you get out of it, right? We talked about the revenue generating opportunities, but collecting that data. So we have an organization, happens to be a zoo, that asks people to enter in their email information and potentially receive updates before they access the app. And then once they enter it in and click submit, they're brought to the app. Downtown Austin, for their event, asked people if they wanted to get text updates while the event was going on, and it went on over the course of a week or so. So folks had the opportunity to click text, get text updates, entered in their phone number, and then they pushed out, again, updates about specific events that were going on, traffic information, and so forth. And now they're using both organizations will use that to push out future event information, or again, in the example of the zoo, to get updates, information about special events and so forth. They use email primarily. So again, you're collecting that data from your visitors, something you would never get from a paper map. One of our, I believe Missouri Botanical Garden, I believe was our first map client, and many years ago, and they have expanded and added so much more. What I wanted to show on this was they have their garden map, they have information for ticketing, they have what's in bloom. Again, this shows how you can save the little icon like I showed you earlier on the downtown Houston example on my phone. And I get all this content. What I really love about what they did was they've recommended to people what they should do. So if you're short on time, do one of these few things. If you're a family, check out these things. Then they have, enjoyment for all. So this comes into play. Some people will go someplace and spend an entire day there, from opening till close. Some people only maybe have 2 hours. So recommend to them how to get the most bang for their buck. What are the things that they should see if they have a limited time? I've seen it broken down into, what's good for children under, between the ages of like 3 and 10. So really kind of curating the experience for your visitor is really helpful, again, to them, because they're not wasting time with things that maybe, if they have a limited time at the venue. So our GPS mapper it's become a game changer for so many organizations. And I just took some screenshots of some of our clients just to show you how the look and feel vary from organization to organization. This is an example of a resort. It includes campground information, where the arts and crafts are, where the barbecue pit is, all that type of information. This is, I believe this is downtown Houston, metropolitan area, so it's got more of a Google map feel to it. This is one of our garden clients. So if you notice, each of these have all different customized icons. One of the great things about Engage by Sell is we have a phenomenal team that will help you create either custom icons or take what your organization's current branding looks like and make it fit in seamlessly into your map. Here's another couple of examples. Again, Missouri Botanical Garden. This is Snoqualmie Falls. I love how we kind of got the falls in there. Here's another, this one is absolutely beautiful. One of my favorites. I don't know if that was an artist drawing that we incorporated, but so we basically take a map, whether it's a paper map, it's a design map, it's a street map and so forth. We make sure it's positioned correctly, the GPS is functioning, and then plotting the points. Looks like I have a question here, and I'm gonna just read it briefly. Hi, could collecting the data be linked to our existing Salesforce database? I work for a nonprofit that plants trees. We collect information. I know we can do some Salesforce integrations. We can chat offline about that. And then for the mapping, is there a limit on the points that could be mapped? No. We can put as many as you want. You can also, if you notice here on the side, there's some categories here. It's cut off a little. You can categorize your trees. So you could have all the oak trees being one icon, all the elm trees being another. And then you could have them all showing. You can have some of, the visitor can decide what they want to show by clicking on that. In our mapping feature, we also have a search button. So you could tap on the magnifying glass and free type in something. Maybe they're looking for an ATM machine at a location, or maybe they're looking for a restroom that isn't, listed. This one happens to list restrooms, but it will automatically pull up a list of all the things in the area and as well as what you searched. And I guess the final question is, how are the maps designed? Again, we can work with whatever you have existing. We can sort of build one from scratch based upon Google Maps and so forth. Once you create a map in the platform, you can then duplicate that map and change it, for example, for special events, right? So downtown Houston has their downtown map, but they have this event coming up. Again, this is the organization that kind of copycatted off what Melissa was doing in Danville. So she has her Scarecrow Stroll. They have their Dia de la Muertas storefront decor map. So when you click on that map, it's the same map, it's a copy of the map, but they just chose to highlight specific things for this event. And when you would tap on the marker, it would pop up of a description, location, and so forth. So your map can be reused for different types of events, specials, things like that. We work with an organization that recently came to us, and they had a paper map. And I think this goes back to the question about how are the maps created. So they had a paper map and they had a map on their website, not interactive, not to scale, not interactive. And our amazing graphics design team was able to take that paper map, recreate it, place things where they should be so the GPS is working. And when you're standing right here, you're actually right there. And was able to still match the look, feel, and branding of the organization, which was very important to them. They've been around for 40 years or so, more than that actually. And everybody knows their colors, their look, their style. So we were able to recreate it based upon their specifications. Quickly, here's some client examples. Again, if you have questions, throw them in the comment. I know we're kind of running on time. I'm going to go through these as quick as possible. QR codes with signage and so forth. And some more takeaway cards, stickers, signs throughout the venue and so forth. I'm including this, and I'll send out this PowerPoint. This is a bunch of our clients. Some of them I highlighted during the presentation for you to scan the QR code and actually see their sites. And then what I also want to mention is most of the time it's guest services or marketing that come to us looking for this type of solution. And that's great. You know, it's pretty straightforward how we can address their needs for visitor engagement. But your membership and your fundraising teams, right? We can add a link to either your member page for people to sign up to become members. We can link to your existing donation page so people can easily, while they're at your venue, click on a tab and be brought to your donation page. And then finally, you know, for employee training, if you're a museum and you have docents, you can, you know, push out information, reminders about exhibits opening or certain opening or closing times that might change and so forth. So it really can be leveraged across all departments within an organization. Finally, everything in our platform is recorded. We have a very robust data and analytical section. So again, anytime a form is being filled out or a survey is being completed, that's being captured. But also how many people are viewing each page, how many people are viewing each individual pinpoint in your map, and so forth. Not only do we capture all that, it's sortable into daily, weekly, monthly, even hourly. So if you want to see that somebody's going by the main fountain at, you know, between 2 and 3 p.m., that's a hot spot, you're able to track that information also. And then finally, a little bit about, you know, your ROI on this. When you look at the overall cost savings, the platform really sort of pays for itself. Just in, you know, I'll just take printing cost savings alone. Printing and updating paper maps is so costly. It's also not that great for the environment. With more and more organizations looking to go green, this is a great alternative. Increased donations or memberships, because you're putting the information right in their hands. They're in the app anyway. They had a great experience. They had a fun time. I want to become a member of this organization and I want to come back and so forth. So again, this will all be included in the PowerPoint that gets sent out.